Hello, hello. Welcome to anybody who is happening to catch me. Um, just a little heads up. If I hit any bad internet or whatever, please let me know in the chat. Usually it'll go by like in a couple minutes. And what else? There was something else I was going to say. Feel free just to let me know who's joining me in the chat. I didn't get to send out an email newsletter with my schedule, but I do have my schedule now on my website. And it's going to be like a relaxing stream. We're going to make some new brushes and create like a woven texture. So that's going to be cool. Hey Rhoda, happy holidays. We're doing something, I'm using holiday colors on this stream, but you can use this like all year long. And oh my gosh, there was something else I wanted to say. I just like whenever I went live, I got a message from my OBS and it says something about my stream settings and it was like not optimal. So if it looks funny, please tell me. But anyway, so I'm going to get into it. And this is something I had played with for a while. Well, I played with before and set it aside. And then I thought today would be a good day to just kind of play with this sort of idea of creating like a woven kind of fabric pattern. You could turn it into plaid, but I'll show you what my original muse was. So I always love, Chanel always tends to do this like boucle, I don't know how, tweed, the Chanel tweed, it's like very famous. And they do all these different weaves. And every collection you've got like a different weave. And sometimes, for the couture, they will weave in metallics. And it's just so interesting. And sometimes it just looks like so artistic and not even necessarily super regular. You have kind of like, patterns and stuff. But so that was kind of my jumping off point to create some kind of like a woven sort of digital background. And I kind of like what I have going on here. But of course, with me, I'm always thinking, like, how can I do this as easy as possible? And so, of course, for me, I've got to make a brush out of it. I've got to get, use my brushes to do things faster. And so I'm going to just show you how I made this custom brush. So this is a custom, let's hear, this one here is a custom, I use one custom brush to make this. And then of course you can layer it in with your own brushes and stuff. But it was a really cool way for me to create this sort of a woven fabric that also looks like artistic and not necessarily perfect regular. I thought that was really pretty. And oh my gosh, I'm like, I just had a bunch of, what do you call it, lentils. And I just keep feeling like I need to burp. So if you hear something, no, you didn't. But I'm like, when you're talking and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just need to burp. So anyway, basically, I thought to myself, okay, how can I create, this you is doing the least amount of work possible? I was like, how can I do that? And so I had the idea to create a brush, which is kind of in the shape like you see here. In fact, this is the shape that I use. And then I'm going to scatter it. And of course, this is using the multicolor brush method, most of you guys are really, really familiar with. And so I'm going to show you how I built up that brush and then we'll make the digital background with it. So I just knew that I kind of wanted to do something like a stitching and going top to bottom, left and right. And so what I did was I'm like, okay, what brushes do I have? Hold on one second. What brushes do I have that I could kind of, emulate some sort of like a rough stitch texture to create the base of this brush? So I actually went into my Citrus Creative Kit, and I know that I have some nice little textured pattern brushes. And so I took, let's see, I think it was this one here. yeah, or no, I think it was this one. So a citrus textured pattern brush 19, but you could take like whatever brush you have on hand. So I take this, I'm going to use just, now we're building this brush shape. So what I'm going to do now is get my regular brush tool, not the pattern stamp like I'm normally using. And then of course I'm going to get black. And I'm just going to draw my brush here. And I'm like, okay, this is nice. But to get that sort of effect that I'm going to be wanting, I'm going to want some spacing in this stroke here. So I'm just going to undo that. But what I like about this brush stroke, or this brush that I've already created, is that it already has like texture in there. So that's really nice. It gives it this kind of rough sort of organic feel. And so what I'm going to do is go to my brush settings. So I've got them over here. If you don't see it, just go to Window, Brush Settings. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with the spacing and space it out more. And that's just adjusting that. So let's here, when I draw like this, let's take my brush size up a little bit. I'm going to get something like that. So that's pretty good. And I can even just adjust it just a little bit, like the size jitter. I've already, built this brush, but I'm just adjusting it for my purpose. So I might take the minimum diameter just to 50%, so that it doesn't get too small of a dot whenever I'm drawing. Hello there, hola. Voy a enviarle un mensaje sobre Patreon, pero tiene las mismas resources, I don't know how you say that, las mismas cosas que mi Behance. So I will send you an email anyway, but there's an instant access folder. You can download these, I forgot your first name. You can download the resources in the instant access folder that is linked on my Patreon if you're not a Behance subscriber. But okay, so sorry, I was like flipping into Spanish for a second because I got a message in Spanish. So yeah, so I've got my brush here, and I've spaced it out a little bit, and that's good enough. It's fine. So we're just gonna go with that right now, and I don't need to change anything else. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a little stroke like I did here. So I just kind of want this kind of stitch sort of effect, and I might take my brush size down a little bit. But the one thing though that I am going to do is that with this brush particular, if I go up and back, it's going to fill that in. And I did that on purpose whenever I was making it. But for this thing, I'm just going to draw one stroke, and then I can duplicate it and duplicate that layer. So I'm just going to drag Option and drag my layer to make just to make it more like a little bit stronger of a mark and filled in, because I whenever I'm making this initial brush mark, I want it to be a bit strong. So I did that, and so that's all I did. And so I just drew this little stroke here, and I drew this stroke here. So I wanted one vertical, one horizontal, and then one just a little accent into this, quadrant here, and then another accent here. So I drew the shape knowing that I'm going to space it out, and I just kind of thought that this would be a good way to create this effect very quickly. So once I've drawn that, this is my mark that I'm going to be using to start the brush. I'm going to hit Command K, which is to make it a Photoshop brush. So it's going to look something like this. And now what we're going to do is, let's go to, hold on one second. Go Window, Arrange to up vertical. Okay. I think I'll put my scratch over here. We kind of want a little visual here. So I'm going to make a new layer, and let's see here. So we're going to take our brush, and I'm going to go ahead and build this brush with the pattern stamp tool, because that way it'll give me a better view of what it's going to look like with the color blending. So what I'm going to do is take my pattern stamp tool. I'm going to grab that, let's see here, the demo brush that I just did. And for right now, I'm going to go into my boho neutral color palette and just grab like one of these greens. So right now, if I go like this, it's looking like this. It's not looking so fabulous. Okay, so now we're going to go into the brush settings. And what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'll put the spacing up a little bit. And then I'm going to the shape dynamics. And for the shape dynamics, I don't want it to be the dynamics. This is important here at the top. So we're going to leave the pen pressure control on, but I'm going to put my minimum diameter maybe down to like 30. This can change a little bit. And then I'll put the size jitter. I can just put maybe 10% jitter on just to have, even if I'm using my pen pressure, there's still just a little bit of jitter. So that's good. What I am going to do now, the angle jitter, I'm going to not mess with that at all, because no matter what, I want this to be, straight up and down. So I don't want it to follow my brush path. So no angle control, no control of the direction whatsoever, because I want everything to be straight up and down and left and right. And then, but I am going to go flip X jitter and flip Y jitter. And that's just going to make sure that those, cross hatches that I've made are going to that they're going to mix it up a little bit. Oops, not brush projection. So I'll flip X jitter, flip Y jitter. And then we're going to go into the scattering, which is the most important part. And I'm going to pull up my scattering. And I think I'll leave the count at 1, and I will take my count jitter maybe up to 100, because I want it to be kind of more randomized. And then the scatter, I think I'll just do like not both axes. Maybe I'm just going to do like this. And I could take I don't know if I'll take my count up. Maybe I will take, I could take my count up a little bit to 2. I can either have the count go up of the scattering or the brush tip shape to like the spacing be lower, but sometimes it's better to have more spacing. And then when I want the colors to really disperse, I'm going to I'll put the count up to 2. So that's my scattering. You can add texture if you want, but this one already has texture into the brush, so I'm fine with that. And I'm not going to do any transfer, because with this design, this is kind of specific. I don't want the opacity to be, dependent on the pen pressure of my brush. So I'm just going to leave that. And then I'm going to go ahead and click plus, and I'm going to do, let's see here, I'm just going to call this 1. Click OK. And let's see here. So I had done this myself before. I'm just going to compare my brush settings to this first brush that I made. So this is my brush 1A that I made earlier. And let me just double check of the settings. So I had the scatter with not both axes. In this case, I had the spacing down a little bit and the scattering count only to 1. And then the shape dynamics, everything's pretty the same. So I couldn't remember exactly. So this is the one that I just made. And so I'm going to shut my brush window. I can go here. And now I can see, let's see here. Let's zoom out just a little bit. So how big is this? This is, now I made the brush tip quite big. But I can take my brush size down a little bit. And now I can kind of fill in like this and fill in this nice background. And what's nice is it doesn't have, you can kind of do it irregularly. And I think that's what I did over here. And I think it looks really cool, and kind of leave some of that background in, showing and everything. And so that's like a really good start to it. And so now we've had that brush that's doing lots of the work for us, and we don't have to, You know, I want to make things, you know, as easy as possible. And then it's just a matter of layering them up. If you want, you know, you can make another version of the brush that maybe has a little bit more spacing so it doesn't fill in so fast. So I could adjust that. Now I could make a new layer, maybe grab a red, you know, start putting some red in there, start building it up. And so you can quickly build up this nice, really luxurious texture with that brush. So I can go ahead and save this one even as well. One, I'll call this B spaced, you know, so you can just, you know, do it like however you like and play around with it. But already we're building up that lovely stitched woven sort of effect, and I really like how it's turning out. And what else was I gonna say? And then also, of course, we're using like the multicolor method. So if you're not familiar with it, there's a link down below for the foundation tutorial. But all the colors that are in the pattern will come out of the brush. And so we're using that technique to like save us loads of time. So that's super fun. And now I'm going to show you, so I had the, just like some different options that you could do when you're, you know, building your brushes. So this was like 1A. Let me just scooch this over here. Oh, and all these colors are from the Boho Neutrals color palette, which they've got, you know, the tans, and then you've got like the beiges, the tans, and then the greens, and then I added the reds because I thought those are great for the holidays and stuff. So those are really nice. So this is that brush 1A that I created. And then, yeah, then I made one, oops, 1B? No, 2A. Okay, so another variation of that brush that I did was I took the scattering, so it's essentially pretty the same brush, but I took the scattering down, and let's see here. So here you can see the scattering like this. So if I take the scattering all the way down, now I can kind of draw some nice little sort of, what do you call it, strokes, but it's, you know, it's not dispersed as much. So this is another cool brush. So like this is how I would work when I'm making these things. So when I do this one, then I can, you know, go over my thing, but let's say, okay, just for contrast, I'll grab a neutral color palette, and maybe I want to put some stripes using this brush. So now I've just made this other version of that brush, and I've got, you know, I can make these nice striped sort of brush strokes by not dispersing all those things, but it still matches it. Or I could go like a light green or something here. But as you can see, it's still got that same sort of marks. Let's turn this off, but it's just not dispersed as much. So that was another version of the brush. So that's version 2A. And so that's great for doing those sort of plaid strokes, you know, across like that. So that can add that texture, add that, you know, depth and all that. And it's just all about adding a bunch of that, and then it looks really cool and like luxurious and stuff. And then 3A, let's see, what did I do? This one. Okay, so this is, I'm going to show you with the same brush. So this is essentially the same brush, but I added a little bit of texture. And sometimes this is nice, like if the mark that you made originally on the brush stroke was too strong. It can be nice to add a little bit of texture into it. So let me turn that off. It's just a personal preference, or depending on the look that you're wanting to get. So if you want to add texture into your brush, you can go here to texture. I already have like in here some patterns that I use for brush texture. And so this is like a little fiber sort of pattern. And it doesn't even matter necessarily if it doesn't already have a lot of contrast, your pattern that's creating the texture in there. Now mine I made seamless already, but honestly, if it's a texture brush, sometimes you don't even really need to worry about that being seamless. You might not even necessarily see that. But to add the texture, usually what I do is I have the blend mode set to linear height, and then I play with the depth, and you can see this is going to be really strong. This is going to be too light. I find a nice little thing in the middle. And then I have the depth jitter. You can play with that. Usually I put a little bit of depth jitter. And then it's all about like tweaking the scale, the brightness, and the contrast in this pattern. So here I can kind of see my pattern getting bigger, smaller. I might leave it like at, I don't know, whatever, 50%. And then you can play with the brightness and contrast until you get a little, kind of an effect you want. So now I can see that there's a little bit more texture into that brush stroke than before. So let me there's like a little bit of texture in those marks. And that might be nice, just depending on the kind of look that you're wanting for that. So I'll just go like this and I'll do 1C. I'll put live, okay. And I went ahead and, created all these brushes. So all the people that are my subscribers, you guys can go ahead, you can download them. And if you're like I said before, if you're a Behance subscriber, they're attached to this live stream. And then if you're on my Patreon, which is the same benefits, it will be in the instant access folder, which is on the last post. So here you can see I'm just kind of filling this in, and I like how it goes. So this has got the little bit of texture into that brush stroke. But like I said, with that first brush that I made, there was already some texture in the marks. So that was cool. And you can just keep layering and all this stuff. So that's fun. And then what did I do for my last one? I made another brush. Okay, so basically what I did was I took this brush that I just made, and I'm going to use my dual brush to create like a strong border. And this is different than the brush that I just made before, because the brush that I made before to create those sort of lines, I did not I did not scatter the strokes. This one I'm scattering them, so it's going to have a totally different effect than the last one. So I'm scattering the brush strokes, but I'm containing them in another brush. So to add the dual brush, we're going to, because right now it's scattered, but it's going everywhere. Well, I'm going to want to put that in a brush container, and so that I can make really clean lines and stuff. Oh, why is Canva opening? Okay, random. Oh, I think I just accidentally clicked on it. So this is the brush that I have right now. So what I'm going to do to make a dual brush and to make that other version of the brush, let me just check this, okay, is I'm going to have my brush. I've got my brush settings window open, and then I'm going to go to dual brush, and I'll just get like a circle, a standard, what do you call it? Standard circle brush tip, not a big deal. And what I'm going to do is change the blend mode to multiply here on the top right. And, oh, hey, RB. Okay, I don't know what the initials are standing for, so you're going to have to give me your first name, but hello. Okay, so we got the dual brush, we got the multiply, we've got like a basic circle. You could really use any tip. And I'm going to pull this, I'm going to pull the size bigger, and you can, you can scatter it a little bit, but I think I'll just take the brush tip bigger. I don't want a perfectly smooth outline, so I'm going to take the scatter and the spacing up just a little bit. And if I take the scatter and the spacing up just a little bit, I could up the count, and then it'll still have like not so much ridges or whatever. Oh, Rasim. Okay, sorry about that, Rasim. So let's test this one out. Okay, that's cool. So as you can see, I'm getting like those brush strokes are still scattered, but now it's being contained in that brush stroke. But this is a little bit bumpy for the edges. So what I'm going to do is on the dual brush, I'll take down my spacing, I'll take down my scatter, and maybe take the brush size up. And let's see here. I think I'm going to take my size of my brush, the things down. This looks a little bit better. Okay, because that's quite big. So let's go like this. So I'm liking that, but I kind of want to fill this in a little bit more. So what I'm going to do on the scattering, I'm going to take the count up to 2. And it's still a little bit rough, although it's getting better. So I'm going to go back to the dual brush, maybe take the scattering down just to scotch. And then I can go back to my brush tip shape, maybe take the spacing up a little bit. Okay, this is looking pretty good. So let's go here and test this brush out. So now we've got this brush. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna go 1D live, whatever. And then now I'm just gonna compare you to the one that I didn't scatter to just show you that it looks different. So this one has just much more of the one on the top has just, you know, more of everything in a line, but you can see that this one scatters more. So it's a different effect. So 2 different ways to do that. So that's essentially making myself a little brush set. And then now I can just play with them and layer them and build this really cool sort of thing. I'll probably do the other brush set too, because I actually made 2 brush sets. But if you are a subscriber, and just go ahead and click on the top right, the source files, and you can get these brushes. So let's see here. So let's just play a little bit here. So what did I do? So this one was one that I created with this brushes. And as you can see, I've just layered and layered and layered. And so I'm going to do something similar to that just to show you how to do that. So I think this one's going to be more red based. So I think on my scratch thing, I'm going to make a dark red background. So let's just take a color from over here. Let's get red. Let's just get like a deep red, and I'll click OK. All right, so let's make a new layer above this, and we'll just start. Let's see here, we'll just see where we're gonna go here. Maybe I'm going to pop this here. Demo. So I think I did a lot. Okay, so we're gonna go to my pattern stamp tool. Let's get a color palette. So let's get this nice deep red. And let's just go in with that brush 1A, and I can see if it's, I think that I want to take my brush size down a little bit. So I can just, let's see here, just fill in some like this. And if it's not perfect, don't worry. So it's just all about layering. So I'm going to put everything on its own layer. So I've got that's like my first layer. What I might do is take a little bit, now I'll change my color palette. So maybe I'm going to go to a green here. And what I'm going to do is also not do it perfectly around. So it's like really kind of having an artistic feel, and just adding some of those green in there like that. And let's see here. It's just a lot of, I'll make another layer. And now maybe I'm going to get a brighter red. So I'm going to get like this, oh, maybe this red here. Oh, I don't know. Let's see. And add some, maybe I don't love that. I think I'll go with this one. Add some red, just touches. So it's just building it up. Now, actually, what I think I'll do is I want to add some gold in there. And so I'm going to show you how I add the gold. So what I might do is actually underneath that last red, and then above the green, what I'm gonna do is make a new layer. And I'm gonna go ahead and apply one of my 24 karat gold layer styles. And if you don't have gold layer styles, you can just use a gold image as a clipping mask. But I'm going to just paint a little bit of this brush stroke in spots. I kind of like that. It's getting richer and richer the more layers we add. And you know, if it's too much, you can always undo it or just kind of tap to just add a little bit of that gold. So it's really starting to feel like a really rich sort of woven fabric. So I love that. And that's underneath the red there. So, and then let's see what else I did. Oh, one of the things you can also do is on my Creative Couture layer styles. I've got these layer styles that add really cool texture overlays onto my to create like a textural effect. So I'm just going to show you that really quickly. Let's see here. I've got the textile 1 and 2 here. So let's just do I'll show you. Let me make a new thing here. New file, 2000 by 2000, create. Okay, so let's see here. Layer, new fill layer, solid color. Let's just add a dark red. So I'm going to click OK, make a new layer. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this textile to layer style on my layer, and and it's a pattern overlay. The blend mode is set to luminosity, so it's going to use whatever color that I paint in and create a really cool textured effect. So I'm going to click OK. And instead of doing the multicolor brush, actually, I'm just going to do the standard brush tool and grab my last brush that I was using. Here we go. And I want to change my color to red. Now you could still use the multicolor method, but sometimes in the multicolor method, there's like, you'll get like a little dark color, a little like black or white or something, and it can kind of mess up the effect. So with the layer styles, I generally like using a 1 color, but now you can see it's, I'm have this layer style already applied and I'm painting this brush stroke in just red, and now it's giving me this really gorgeous textured effect. So that's what I worked in on here too with the green. Some of those brush strokes are actually have the layer style applied to it. So I can do the same thing over here. So what I'm going to do is make a new layer. I'm going to go ahead and put that textile 2 layer style on, and let's just see how it does in the green actually. So I'm going to go to my pattern stamp tool. I think this one of these greens is probably pretty okay. So I'll get this green maybe here. And so it's going to add the layer style and take whatever color I'm painting in. So as you can see, it's building up and you're getting that a little bit of that green, like little sparkly green texture. So that looks like kind of like green fibers, but that are a little bit like metallic. So that's quite cool. So that's another way to build it up. So as you can see, we're building up this sort of effects that just looks like rich and luxurious, and it looks like it could take us a lot of time, but it really didn't, because we're letting Photoshop brushes do all the work. And then here, what I actually did, then okay, so this was the base that I made here. So this looks pretty, let's hear a scratch. So this one I did more in like little spurts. It's like a little bit more artistic. This one, it's a bit more evenly distributed, but it's still cool in its own way. But what I did here was then I was like, oh, I could turn this into like more of a plaid. So I added some brush strokes here in the red, and I think that added a nice sort of effect. And this was actually using that, like the brush that I used, that I created, but that wasn't scattered. So I'm getting my pattern stamp tool. I'm going to grab that, a brighter red, and then I'm going to get that brush 2A. And this is the brush that, oh, it's too big. Let's left bracket to make that brush size a little bit small. So I actually love incorporating that brush stroke in here because, you know, gives you this effect of like a ribbon, and you can go back over it, make it a little bit stronger. And, you know, you could turn this into a very sumptuous sort of plaid. And I think it's cool. So I love things that look like super, okay, ignore the fact that my things are not evenly spaced at all. I can always just deselect. And then even what I did is I thought it'd be fun to make some, oh wait, let me turn this, the ones that I made. So I could take it up a level, and in between these, if I'm like kind of zooming out, you know, I've got these red things. In between the red, I could actually make some gold things, and that even takes it another step further. So it's like, you know, you could keep building, keep adding if you like. I'll just show you how I made this really quick. So I have those red brush strokes, and I just used the same gold layer style and applied it onto the layer. And then I just took a brush that I had already had. So this was a brush from my, it was the citrus collection, but I wanted it to be spaced out. So I just adjusted it. So sometimes, you know, don't be shy to take a brush you have and then adjust it to suit your purposes. So let me just, hold on, let me cut this. So I'm going to show you how I adjusted this to suit what I wanted. So I took like, I believe it was citrus textured pattern 5, but it's essentially a line brush. Let's turn off the, so it's essentially a line brush. If I could find something empty here, let's go here. Okay, so what I want is I want to space it out a little bit so it looks more like this. So there's some little spacing in it. So all I have to do is go to my brush settings and then go to my spacing, and I can space it out. And then I'll go to my shape, or no, my scattering. I don't have to scatter it, but I might take the count up to 2 or something, 2, so that it's a little bit stronger. So let me just push that. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I can go twiddle with it a little bit and take my shape dynamics so that the minimum diameter is not so small. And so that's pretty cool. That's good enough. So I'm just gonna like right click here, or not right click, right bracket to kind of get a good size that I like. Okay, cool. I can save it. Sometimes I save things in my tool presets, or, you know, because I don't like it to mix, I'll save it here first and then resave it in my brushes, because I don't want to click save here, because I'll click OK, because it puts it right in my collection. And I don't necessarily want to mess up my collection, so I'm going to delete that. And so then we're going to go over here. So now I can take that brush and just in the middle here, just draw a stroke, and then you just kind of, it's giving you more like it's kind of a, sort of a plaid thing. Even you could put some maybe solid color behind it, because if it's getting a little bit too lost, you know, but it's just building it up, making it really sumptuous. And I could, did I put something behind there? I forget, but I could. And then I could even duplicate it. So I could just like option, drag this layer to duplicate it, hit free transform, Control T, and put it vertically and click OK. And even I could put some nice like plain brush strokes behind it, to be fair, because it is getting a little bit messy. I'm going to hit plus, make a new layer. I could take Gosh, I could take, let's see here, my pattern stamp tool. I could take a dark red, one of my dark red color blends. I like some of those ones because they don't, there's not that many colors, and even I could just take like a modern impressionist brush, maybe just add like a little bit of brush. I don't know if I love that, but I could add some brush strokes behind it or some solid colors if it's looking too lost. Even I could change that to multiply, but whatever. It's just wherever you want to stop. Sometimes I go extra far, but let's see here. Got those. That's the one that, anyway, whatever. It looks good enough. I'm going to hit save. That is like one of my demo backgrounds. Maybe I will turn off maybe it's better just like this with just those kind of 3 red stripes across it. But you could totally turn it into a plaid. So that's the vibe. And I'm gonna hit save, and let's hear what time is it? 8:30. It's already 8:30? Oh no, I started at 7:45. Okay. And then I thought I will really quick, I'm gonna really quick show you the second brush set, and I made this digital background. So I'm gonna show you how I did that. And I don't want it to be too boring for you guys. So let me just check my things here. Where's my tip? Oh, there we are. Okay. So what I did was I'm like, okay, I want to make a brush that is similar to the one that I just made, but I want a different variation, So I just duplicated my brush tip here and I took the opacity down. And this is going to be kind of a guide. And I did this for a couple reasons, because just to kind of make sure it's in the same kind of size frame. And when it's in the same kind of size frame, then what I can do is go back to all the brushes that I already just made and just change the tip without having to do all the settings all over again. So I'm going to show you what I mean. And this is all about saving time. So this is the brush brush tip that I created. Now it's a little bit different, but essentially it's like, this is a brush stroke vertical, a little one vertical, and then a big brush stroke horizontal and horizontal. So how I did that actually was, I was looking for a brush tip and I wanted something that looks kind of like a fiber or a stitch or something like that. So in fact, what I did was I went to I have a collection of chain brushes, and let's see here. I think it was one of these. Yeah, so chain brush 42, which looks like that. But all I did was I just messed with the spacing so it was more spaced out. And that was fine. So that's the brush that I used to create the vertical stroke, the horizontal stroke, all that. And so I made it, more or less, this is a little bit bigger, but more or less the same size, and kind of use that other one as a guide. So now I'm going to show you how I swap out those brushes. So because I don't have only the brush on here, I'm going to just make my selection because I want to define this as my brush preset. So I'm going to hit Command K, and let's see here a second. I'll click OK. All right, deselect. And now, where did all my stuff go? Oh, there it is. Okay. Window, arrange, consolidate all the tabs. Okay. So let's go here so we can see this stuff in action. So I'm going to get my pattern stamp tool and I'll just grab my green, a green color palette. And now I'm going to go to, like, say, brush 1A that I created, make a new layer. Okay, that's that Stitchy McStitcherton. And now what I'm going to do is go into my brush settings and go into my brush tip shape. And I'm going to, the first thing is brush setting is brush tip shape. So I'm going to go into the, go down and find that second brush tip. And I think it's like here. But it should be right by the brush tip that you already did. So I'm going to click on here. Okay, that is. So it changes the brush tip, but all the other things are the same. But you might need to like tweak it a little bit because the size was bigger. So I'm going to take the brush size to like, I don't know, 500. And then the spacing, I might space it out a little bit. And now let's make a new layer. And so now we basically kind of got the same brush, but with the different tip on it. So that's how I made all of the second set of brushes. So here's brush, wait, so I'm going to show you, here's brush 1A, and then here's brush 1B. And so they're really quite similar, and I don't worry about them being perfect, whatever, because this is like a project based, you know, whatever. But there you go. So you can see that they have the same kind of effects. And so there's brush 2A. So this is the one that I did not take the scatter, you know, it's not scattered. So there's brush 2A. And then we're going to go to brush 2B. And so we've got the same kind of thing. We've got like no scattering going on. And then, but the thing is when I made the brush 2, all I did was keep going to my first brush that I made and simply changing the tip, and I might adjust the size and the spacing just a little bit, or just tweak the settings just a little bit. Here's 3A, and here is with the texture, and there's 3B, just about the same. And this is brush 4A, so this is that contained sort of the scattered stitch, but it's contained. And then the same thing with 4B. It's the scattered stitch, but it's contained as well. So that's just a little tip. If you have, you know, if you're making different variations, you want to make subtle variations of brush sets, then that's a little tip so that you don't have to create all of the second, third, fourth sets of brushes from scratch. So if you make sure that you make the tip somewhat same size and shape, even if not, you can adjust the size and everything. So if you are a subscriber, of course, you can just download the ones that I make, or you can use this idea and make your own. So it's up to you. And I'm going to show you what I did. Okay, so this is the, using the same steps before that I made. I made this background here. And as you can see, it's really pretty similar. It's just layer and layer and layer and layer. So let me just pull these layers back here. And let's see, I think that's empty. And we'll just kind of recreate this here real quick. And then, yeah, and then I'll wrap that up because I want to keep the live stream to like about an hour. Is pretty good. We don't want to be too long. Okay. So to start off with, I took that brush 1B, I guess it is, and I used the darker green color palette. And so I just, looks like I made my brush size a little bit smaller. So I'm going to left bracket a couple times and, you know, just filled in this background with a dark green, like so, So that's what I did there. And pretty just filled it in. So we've got the nice green. And so then I added some red in there. So let's do the same thing. So let's see which red. I'm going to grab one of this red color palette. And this is too small. Let's right bracket. So it looks like I just added a little bit of red. Kind of like that, whatever. Okay, so good. Now we're going to add some gold in there. So we're going to go ahead and add the gold layer style ahead, right, onto my layer before I start painting. And let's see here, I'll just stick with this 1B, it's fine. And if, let's see here, oh, so like when I'm trying to do my gold layer, it's just a bit too condensed. So I actually create a spaced out brush. So I just move the spacing, as you can see here. There's the brush. I click spacing. I've just pulled that spacing out, and I'm curious if I did even the scattering. Let's see here, 1B. No, I didn't change the scatter. Okay. So just, it was too glob, you know, I needed it more spaced out. So I just adjusted the spacing and made a more spaced out version. And then I can just add some little, you know, sort of things like this, just barely touching it and adding some gold in there to that digital background until I get it how I like. And let's see here. Oh, Vicky, so these brushes that I made on the live stream, or actually made them even before the live stream, they're available for Behance subscribers. So you could subscribe for $10 and get a huge resource library. You can download everything. It's hundreds of brushes that are all my tools and tutorials. I don't have them for individual sale because I just made them today, but they're available for my subscribers. So you can do that, even subscribe for a month, whatever, it's fine. Let's see here. So yeah, so now we're just building up those layers. So let's just add another layer, and I'll get like some lighter green, and you know, kind of want to cover up some of those gold even, because maybe if I got too much gold, it's like, it's too much, whatever. And then the last thing, oh yeah, so then I added a lot. So then I added this layer here with that, here's the red, so you can see, but I added that, like I did before, I used that textile to layer style, and I used a red, I painted in red. So let's just do that here. And then we're gonna have a bit of like red sort of shimmery stitching building up here. Loving that. Just keep building, building, building. And of course, I'm not gonna worry that it's perfect. I made them pretty nice before with my demo files, and then I just added a little bit more green, so I'm just gonna make a new layer. Let's take like this, maybe a green, and just put some green over the top, what have you. So it's just building, building, building. We're getting this fiber sort of effect. You could mix and match even some of those brushes if you want. So I'm just gonna make a new layer. Even I could take like, gosh, there's so many different things that I could do. But this one, I'm not gonna, maybe I'll just leave it like this and not add so many stripes and stuff, because what I did was I turned this into like a little bit of a template. So that looks good. Yeah, hold on, let me hit save. Kind of messed this up. Okay, so now I'm just gonna show you. So now I have that background, but sometimes you're like, okay, the background, you want to do something cool with it, you know? So what I did was I was like, okay, well, this, I need something, you know, I need something else or whatever. So I was like, I'll make it into a little template, and I'm going to show you how I did that. So let me just peel back the layers. Okay, there's nothing on that layer. This. Okay, so first of all, I just added a square in the middle because I'm like, and I'm gonna make this available for free sometime tonight. I'm gonna put it on. I'll put the link down below, but you can use this as a social media template for free. But I thought what I would do is accent this with these snowflake brushes, and that I actually made these snowflake brushes in one of my previous live streams. So where I showed you guys how to use the symmetry tool to make some really, and the whatever brushes you have in your arsenal to make them into a really cool snowflake. So in fact, this one I used this vine brush to make this snowflake, and I used the Photoshop Symmetry brush tool, and then I turned it into some snowflake brushes, which are available for my subscribers. So all I did was I stamped a few of these brushes to make the snowflake design, and this just makes it feel really festive, but I wanted it to, I needed to make some separation because this is so quite busy, and so we still need to kind of keep in, keep some principles of contrast. If you have busy on busy on busy on busy, maybe it's not going to look so great. So I have the gold layer style on it. I've got a little bit of a drop shadow, but then what I did was I put a little brush stroke behind it, and I think this looks like really nice. So I'm going to show you. For this one, I actually grabbed, I'm using my same color palettes, but I grabbed the Feathery Couture brush number 6. So I'm going to grab my pattern stamp tool. So the first thing I did was these green brush strokes. I thought that would be really nice. So let me make a new layer. And I'm going to grab Feathery Couture 6, which is one of my faves, and this green, I think that's pretty the same green. Yeah, maybe I grabbed a darker one. Okay, let me undo. But I'm going to right bracket because I wanted this to be bigger. And you can just see all the gorgeous, soft, gorgeous detail in that brush. How is that? I'm going to use a darker brush. Okay. Oh, that looks better. So here you can get a little preview of that brush, but it's quite scrumptious. Just going to show you. There you can't see the color because it's on light, but it's just nice. It's a soft, it's inspired by feather, but I find it very, what do you call it? Very painterly. So I think that that's nice. So I just drew some green behind it. And then I just drew these just soft, some soft little circles here. So I'm going to just show you how I did this. So I grabbed, like, say, I think it was this red brush color palette. And all you have to do is just wiggle a little bit. And then it just created these nice, soft, sort of spherical shapes. And because it is, or even not even, it wasn't even all necessarily spherical, just some soft, red accents. But that's why I love the multicolor brush, because a lot of times when you do something like this, it just gives it a shape. It gives it some gorgeous texture. And let's just zoom in. So pretty. It's just so nice. I love it. So it just gives some nice contrast. And so now those snowflakes feel like they have a good contrast. Even it feels kind of like it's all together and stuff, but it's got some separation from that background, which is extra, very maximalist. So that's it. So I'm gonna, whenever I get off, I'm going to put this, available for download for everybody. What I should do is turn it into a Adobe Express template. That would be nice. But I'll have the digital background available for free within the next few hours, let's just say. So you guys can use those for personal or commercial use. And just a little last minute Christmas background. So I'll have, oh my gosh, I still want to burp. I have this background and then also this nice red textured background. And yeah, so that was pretty it. But hopefully you guys have to, well, I guess you can't comment afterwards on a live stream, but I think I will, let me know if you like seeing kind of not just what to do with the brushes, but actually like how I'm making them. If you want to see more brush building content, I can do that, which I was planning to anyway. And yeah, so I'm so glad that I got to get on today. Thank you guys, anybody who is following along. Thank you so much, and I'll be online tomorrow. You can visit my website for the time. Sometimes I will let you know. Sometimes I do. If I'm running late, I'll scooch it back, but you can go and subscribe to the Google Calendar here. And that way, if I scooch it back, you'll see. But I scooched mine back like 15 minutes today. And then tomorrow, I'm meant to be online 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, anyway, oh, thanks so much, Rhoda. Hopefully, you got something useful out of it. And yeah, so I'm gonna come up with something fun tomorrow. I'm in Split, Croatia. I'm on my own, so it's not like I have tons of holiday things to do or anything like anything like that. So I'm like, I'm gonna try to catch up on some work and also just enjoy some more streams and stuff this week. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for following along with the tutorial. Message me anytime. And yeah, we'll catch you mañana. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Rhoda. Glad you like it.